4 Sinister Supernatural Encounters by Firefighters, Haunted Truths Revealed. The night was thick with dread as flames danced sharply against the darkness, crackling with a sinister energy. Maplewood, a seemingly perfect suburb, now bore witness to a string of fires that left nothing but destruction and despair in its wake. No one could understand why, but whispers of something sinister lurked in the shadows. Fires that started innocently soon spread uncontrollably, leaving families robbed of their homes and their hopes. And yet, amidst the chaos, there was one figure whose presence danced like a malevolent shadow at each site, a neighbor named Mr. Hawthorne. Alex Martinez, devoted firefighter with years of duty under his belt, felt the familiar stirring in his chest. He had been trained to face flames and smoke, but this was different. The first fire had erupted a block away while he and his partner, Mia, were finishing a late-night shift. As they geared up and hurried to the scene, Alex felt an unsettling chill, a prickle at the back of his neck. "Can you feel that?" he whispered to Mia. She nodded, her brow creased with worry, and they forced the thought aside. Duty called. Each fire carried with it the gruesome hallmarks of loss, a family comforting each other, tears falling like rain, while the scent of charred wood and ruins stung Alex's nostrils. He worked tirelessly, but as he extinguished each blaze, his heart grew heavy. It wasn't just the devastation from the flames, it was the haunting presence of Mr. Hawthorne that sent shivers down his spine. The man stood at the edges of each scene, charming and polite, yet behind his warm smile something cold lurked, festering like the ashes of their nightmares. Every night after fire calls, Alex would return to his quiet home, seeking solace in his grandmother's ritual of lighting candles, a ritual now tainted by an oppressive feeling. The flickering flames seemed to mock him, whispering secrets he dared not uncover. His little son, Tommy, began to complain about the strange sounds at night, the flickering of lights, and the cold spots that made the hairs on the back of Alex's neck stand tall. Dread settled into his bones, twisting his mind with fear. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each fire revealed strange symbols, arcane markings etched into the walls of burned-out homes. The locals spoke in hushed tones of a vengeful spirit, a tale Alex had dismissed as childish folklore.
Yet, now, faced with tangible evidence, doubt gnawed at him. What if there was truth to the darkness that surrounded Mr. Hawthorne? When that sharp knock echoed through his home one fateful evening, Alex felt the echo of doom. Mr. Hawthorne. With his unsettling smile, he extended a charming invitation, pulling Alex further into the web of shadow that engulfed their suburb. Alex's heart raced with the realization that this was no simple neighborly gesture. He sensed the trap closing, and as the flames roared in the darkness, he understood. Realities painted in whispers and smoke were about to collide. At that moment, hanging in the chill of desperation, Alex's world teetered on the edge. The ghosts of his past and present bled together, and the question loomed: would he confront the darkness or allow it to swallow him whole? As he stood at the precipice of terror, the true horror awaited just beyond the flickering candlelight, waiting for him to choose. The air shifted around Alex as he stood at his door, the flickering candlelight barely illuminating Mr. Hawthorne's face. That smile grew wider, hungry. "Don't be coy, Alex. There's so much to discuss," he said smoothly, the words dripping like honey, sticky and suffocating. "Why are you here?" Alex's voice trembled, each word laced with an urgency that spat back at the dark. Tommy's small form moved closer against him, eyes wide, sensing danger, the primal instinct of a child afraid of the shadows. "Such sweet innocence," Hawthorne crooned, bending slightly to meet Tommy's gaze. "You should get him to bed, Alex. The night is when the true horrors come alive." Tension hung thick, reverberating against the walls. Alex swallowed hard. "You need to leave." Hawthorne chuckled softly, and with that sound, the temperature in the room dropped. The faint chill swept in, curling around the edges like the smoke of the fires. "Have you ever wondered, Alex, why the flames dance so eagerly? Why they emerge as if called? It's not just coincidence, it's an invitation." The man's gaze turned steely, eyes narrowing until they seemed to glisten with an unnatural light. "I know things about you, about this town. They all whisper. You just need to listen." Alex felt a wave of panic, a rising tide that threatened to engulf him. "Listen to what?" he asked, employing what remained of his composure. He felt Tommy's grip tighten, small fingers trembling against him. "Oh, about the fires, about what lurks in the ashes. You think it's just loss? No, it's a rebirth, a cleansing. You could be more than just a firefighter, Alex. You could be a vessel." The word hung heavy in the air, forming shadows of possibilities that clawed at his mind. A vessel? What did that mean? His heart raced, ache mixing with dread. "What are you talking about?" Anguish crept up his spine, his instincts screaming to get Tommy away from this man. Hawthorne straightened, his smile morphing into something darker. "You'll find out soon."
"Enough. The fires will come again. They always will. And this time, maybe, you'll help guide them." Alex felt the walls closing in, a malignant pressure squeezing the breath from his chest. "Get out!" he barked, feeling a surge of strength. It was enough to wrench him from the grip of fear, to reach for the door. Hawthorne remained unfazed, his eyes flickering like embers. "I'm merely a messenger." He stepped back slowly. "But remember this, Alex. You can't resist what you already hold within. The darkness inside you is craving its freedom. When it calls, will you answer, or will you let it consume you?" With a last unsettling grin, he turned and faded into the shadows like smoke in the wind, leaving Alex reeling. As the door slammed shut, the house fell silent, save for Tommy's whimper. Alex knelt beside him, a mixture of fear and love rushing through him. "It's okay, buddy. I won't let anything happen to you." But doubt gnawed in him, and as he looked around their dimly lit living room, the shadows whispered like lost souls. That night, sleep evaded him, uncertainty swirling like the embers of his extinguished candles. The following day, the fire alarms blared again, signaling yet another blaze. This time, however, it was not just a fire. It was a beacon, summoning something far more sinister. As Alex and Mia barreled down the road, the air thickened, a prelude to horror. He felt it deep in his bones. Something awaited him not just at the scene, but everywhere. It couldn't be avoided. It was coming back, crawling toward him through the smoke. And as he stared into the inferno consuming the house ahead, a chilling realization hit him. They would learn where the true darkness lay. Were they merely fighting flames, or had he unwittingly become part of something far more horrifying? The sirens wailed like banshees in the night, shrieking a warning that pricked Alex's skin. As they approached the raging blaze, flames leaped violently, casting flickering shadows that danced eerily in the darkness. "Stay close, Tommy," Alex said, gripping his son's hand firmly. Tommy nodded, his small face pinched with fear. The heat radiated from the fire, warping the very air around him, and a palpable dread crept into Alex's heart. He'd seen many fires as a firefighter, But this one felt different, alive, almost sentient. The crew moved quickly, barking orders as they prepared to engage the blaze. But Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. His instincts screamed louder than the alarms. He turned to look at Mia, her face pale and strained as she surveyed the inferno. "We need to be careful," he urged, though the words felt hollow. "This fire, it's not just flames. It seems to have a mind of its own." Mia's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "I don't know yet," he replied, forcing himself to focus. "But something's wrong here." As they set up the hoses and began dousing the
flames, Alex felt them push back, fighting the water with an urgency he'd never experienced before. The fire hissed in response, as if it were a living creature, ready to consume them whole. Suddenly, a figure leaped into view through the smoke, a young woman, her clothes singed, eyes wild with terror. "Help! Help me!" she screamed, her voice sharp against the chaos. Alex's heart raced. He then ran toward her, but the fire crunched ominously around him, a barrier that seemed to tighten with each step. He could feel Tommy's grip slacken, his presence weighing heavier like a stone. "Stay here," Alex ordered. "Dad, no!" Tommy protested, but Alex pressed on, fighting against the heat that clawed at him like 1,000 gnashing teeth. The woman stumbled amidst the flames, her hands grasping toward him as if the very act could save them both. But just as Alex reached for her, the fire roared, crackling with a sound that echoed like laughter. "No!" he shouted, lunging toward the heat, desperation coursing through him. But the flames warped, twisted, as if playing a cruel game, and the woman vanished, a puff of ash and smoke swallowed her whole. Alex stumbled back, horror gripping him, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "She was right there!" Mia screamed as a flame leaped closer, licking at the edge of her uniform. "Alex, we need to get out!" He grimly turned toward her, feeling a tightening in his chest. "We can't just leave her!" But another fire crew member grabbed his arm, eyes wide with alarm. "We have to retreat! This fire is changing shape!" Panic surged through the night as the blaze shifted, swirling around them with a ferocity that defied logic. The fire's roar grew louder, almost as if it were relishing their fear, savoring their desperation. As they backed away, Alex looked one last time, straining to catch even a flicker of the woman's presence. But nothing remained, only the heat, the smoke, the whispers in his mind reminding him of Hawthorne's words. "Alex, we have to go!" Mia's voice pulled him from his thoughts, just as he felt a cold breeze sweep through, a stark contrast to the inferno behind him. "You felt that too?" he asked, confusion flooding in. But he never finished the sentence. The ground beneath them trembled, the flames erupting higher, crackling menacingly. A new sound joined the chaos, a low growl that resonated through the fiery landscape. Suddenly, shapes began to form within the fire, dark silhouettes dancing just beyond the glow, beckoning, taunting. "What is happening?" Tommy squeaked, his fear palpable. The moment froze. The growling intensified, turning into a cacophony of whispers that enveloped them, a chorus of seductive voices that promised power and darkness. Alex felt the pull of it, a yearning that called to the very core of him. And then he understood. This wasn't just fire. It was a summoning, a ritual demanding its price. Should he fight it or embrace what it was?
"Offering? No way! I won't let it take us!" he yelled, shaking his head fiercely, determined to resist. But as the fire surged, a blinding light eclipsed his vision, and he realized they were not just fighting flames. They were pawns in a game much larger than they could ever comprehend. What had he awakened? As the darkness closed in, Alex's heart raced. He had diving into something beyond fear, and he couldn't escape it now. The inferno would reveal its purpose, and soon Alex would have to confront the truth. Would he answer its call, or be consumed by the very darkness Hawthorne had warned him about? A familiar voice echoed in his mind, deep and taunting. "When will you choose?" The fire exploded around them, not just flames, but tendrils of orange and red reaching out like claws. And as the heat closed in, Alex felt an insatiable hunger swirling at his feet, pulling at him, urging him to take a step forward. "Dad!" Tommy's voice was a siren, clear and sharp, cutting through the chaos. Alex turned to see his son's terrified eyes, wide and searching. It snapped him back to the present, and he stumbled back, shaking the grip off the pull of the fire. "Stay close," he yelled, forcing himself to focus. Mia was backing away, her face a mask of determination tinged with fear. "Alex, we need to regroup, now!" But even as she shouted, the flames twisted, drawing so tight they appeared to whisper his name. The ground continued to tremble underfoot, as if the earth itself were a living entity, responding to the chaotic rage of the blaze. Alex could feel the heat licking his skin, leaving behind angry welts. With every heartbeat, the whispers seemed to grow louder, more insistent, confirming his fears. This fire was alive. It was a spirit, claiming dominion over their reality, and it wanted something. As the flames curled and writhed, shadows shifted within them, dark figures circling just out of sight. They loomed close, drawing in the heat as if it were their sustenance. "What do you want?" Alex shouted, his voice cutting through the air filled with smoke. He felt ridiculous, speaking to fire, but he couldn't shake the feeling. This wasn't just some blaze. A low, rumbling laughter filled the air, making his skin crawl. "Join us, embrace us," the voice echoed back, teasing him, promising power beyond comprehension. But at what cost? "No!" he barked defiantly, but doubt filled him like a poison, eroding his resolve. What if there was something to gain? What if this fire could free him from everything else, the debt, the looming pressures of life? "Dad, please!" Tommy cried out again, pulling desperately at his hand, grounding him further. In that moment, the shadows began to coalesce, forming images of other firefighters, faces twisted in anguish, eyes wide in terror, all engulfed by the flames. They were trapped in an endless loop, begging, pleading. Alex felt his gut churn. "No! This can't be happening!" Suddenly, the ground shook violently, and he stumbled. The fire surged again, roaring as it seemed to punctuate his fears. Hot air blasted against him, surrounding him in a suffocating embrace. "Don't look!" Mia shouted, urgency dripping from her voice. But the images pulled him in like gravity. "Help us!" The whisper floated around them, wrapping deeper into the night. "All we ask is a choice." The shadows began to break apart, revealing a figure, a man in firefighter gear, molten and charred, standing in the flames, eyes blazing with an intensity that made the heat feel like a mere kiss. He extended his hand, beckoning Alex forward. Alex's heart raced as his mind fought against the allure of fire's promise. "What do you want from me?" he yelled back, fear and defiance battling for control. "Your soul, your fears. Join us in the flame, and we'll set you free." The figure laughed, the sound mingling with the crackling wood. Alex swallowed thickly, feeling his knees begin to weaken. Was he really ready for the truth? What price would he have to pay? And just like that, the ground trembled harder, a fissure splitting the earth at their feet. The fire roared, accompanied by a blinding light, filling his vision with a blaring white flash that left him breathless. In the haze of the light, Alex glimpsed Mia disappearing into the smoke, Tommy's terrified scream echoing behind him. "Dad, don't leave me!" No, no. He reached for Tommy, panic surging anew. But when he tried to run, the shadows surged forward, wrestling him back, whispering promises he was desperately trying to ignore. Just then, the flames twisted like serpents, coiling around him, pulling him further toward the abyss. And as he was dragged closer into the heart of the inferno, the last thing Alex heard was the chilling echo of that familiar voice, now deeper, more distorted. "Make your choice. The time is now." What was truth? What was deception? With every fiber of his being, he screamed into the darkness, "I choose to fight!" But then a thought crept in. What if fighting was the true surrender? As the fire surged, Alex knew this was just the beginning. What horrors awaited them within the flames? The light flickered and shattered, a kaleidoscope of brightness that burned into Alex's skull. As the world around him spun mercilessly, his instincts screamed for escape, yet the flames held him with a heavy grip, pulling him deeper into their embrace. "Tommy!" His voice was lost, swallowed by the chaos. Each second felt like an eternity. The shadows converged, closing in like vultures scenting blood. They mimicked the faces of the lost, fellow firefighters, consumed with despair, their mouths moving, but no sound escaping, each one an echo of warning. Their eyes were pools of sorrow, and he could feel their despair seeping into him. "You could have saved us, but now there's only us." The whisper danced at the edges,
his sanity tearing at his mind like claws. A surge of anger surged through him, warming his cold dread. "I won't become like you," he roared, as if breaking through a spell. But the ground shook violently once more, throwing him off balance. He stumbled to the side, the heat pressing hard against his back. The flames didn't offer warmth, they threatened to consume. They circled him, the very air thick with a mix of smoke and foreboding. Mia, where was she? Panic stabbed at his heart. He was trapped in a living nightmare, alone in a dance of fire and shadows. Then he remembered Tommy's plea, the sound bright and clear amid a blur of dread. "Get to the truck," he yelled, hoping his words somehow wove through the smoke to reach his son. Behind him, the voice returned, serpentine and sweet. "It's too late for saving Alex. Join us. We can protect him, ensure he never feels fear again." The whisper curled around him, tempting and dark. A frantic look over his shoulder revealed shadows swirling, twisting into grotesque mockeries of love, formless silhouettes resembling the people he cherished, his wife, friends, even his father. Their faces morphed, their eyes wild with agony, and their mouths contorted into silent screams. Each figure held a talon of flame, as if they embodied the fire itself, reaching out, beckoning him closer. "No!" he shouted defiantly, but his voice trembled. The ground split, and beneath the chaos, darkness lay like a gaping wound. The allure of power pulled at his reason. What if he could harness it? What if freedom lay beneath the ash, the weight of his worries smoldering away like the embers of a dying fire? "Choice," the shadows whispered, "power and safety at the price of a soul. Just one step forward, and you'll understand." Sweat prickled down his back, the very air thickening with heat and anguish. His body felt alien, as if fire had seeped into his bones. With every heartbeat, he weighed a choice heavier than any he'd ever faced. "Tommy needs you," a voice, his own, reminded him, cutting through the layers of fear like a knife. With desperate resolve, he backed away from the twisting tendrils. He took a deep breath, choking on the acrid smoke, sending fire to his lungs, but he held firm. "No, I stand with my family." A deafening roar shook the foundation of the world. The flames exploded outward, wild and free, and for a moment the silhouettes recoiled, screaming without sound. In that instant, Alex saw the truth. The searing light and heat around him warped, revealing a hidden path within the chaos, a narrow escape. But it was a choice that required leaving behind everything he knew and stepping into the unknown. "Go!" the cry rang out, forcing resolve from the depths of despair. He lurched forward, eyes blazing, searching for Tommy. "Dad!" The voice floated through the smoke, a beacon of hope, yet its urgency masked the hidden darkness.
Lurking just beyond. Would he find his son, or was the fire consuming everything in its wake? He rushed forward, the shadows clawing at him, furious and relentless, but he pressed on. What haunted truths awaited him in the smoke? The moment Alex pushed through the suffocating smoke, he felt an eerie shift in the air. The fire crackled loudly, but the other sounds, the cries for help, the whispers from the shadows, were growing faint, overshadowed by an omnipresent silence. Fingers trembling, he wiped the soot from his eyes, scanning the murky surroundings. "Tommy!" he yelled, desperation flooding his voice. Each breath came ragged and heavy, the heat bearing down like a vice. Ahead, a flicker of movement caught his eye. He rushed toward it, heart pounding in his chest like a war drum. Could it be his son? As he crossed an open space, the flames roared, leaping up, taunting him as they tried to pull him back into their deadly embrace. Forcing himself to ignore the heat scorching his skin, he sprinted forward. "Dad!" Tommy's voice again, clearer this time. Alex followed the sound, hope igniting a fire of its own in his heart. He stumbled into a wider section of the building. As he did, shadows loomed even larger, darting around him like phantoms. An unsettling chill crept through him, contrasting painfully with the flames' inferno. "Tommy!" he shouted, panic rising like bile. Where was he? Suddenly, the shadows took on new forms. They morphed into grotesque figures, twisted firefighters with hollow eyes and mouths agape, trapped in eternal anguish. Their arms reached out, an invitation and a warning all in one, merging into one chilling chorus. "He's ours! You let him die!" "No!" The word tore from his throat. Anger fueled his momentum. He had to find his son. "No! I won't let you take him!" The shadows flickered at his vehement refusal, recoiling slightly, but then striking back fiercely, whirling around him, drawing him deeper into despair. "Alex." Another voice emerged, softer but more insidious. It was Mia, distorted and gentle, floating just beyond his reach in the boiling haze. "Come join us. You'll never be alone again." "Get away!" he screamed, but the agonizing faces loomed closer, their pain palpable as if it were seeping into his skin. Memories surged, Mia's laughter, Tommy's smile. Images morphed into haunting reminders of his failures. He had lost them once. He couldn't let it happen again. Just then, something cold brushed against his skin, pulling him back from the brink. It was a hand, as soft as falling ash. Alex turned, and there was Tommy, larger than life, but shimmering like a hologram. "Dad, I'm scared." His son's face was a mixture of fear and innocence, a stark reminder that the real and the surreal were dangerously intertwined. "Hold on to me," Alex cried, reaching out, but the darkness around them began to swirl violently. It was alive, shifting, writhing like a serpent. "I'm coming!" With every step toward him, the shadows thickened, tightening their grip. The clouds of smoke were now alive, becoming tendrils grasping at his legs, pulling him down. He fought with desperation, a primal instinct to reach his son clenching his heart. "Dad!" Tommy's voice rang again, but there was something off, a tremor of fear barely hidden beneath his plea. "Just a little closer!" Alex wheezed, pushing through the choking weight of despair. Victory felt near, but the shadows weren't done with him yet. They surged forward, a torrent of haunting cries and tortured wails, whispering promises of power and safety that clawed at his sanity. With a roar that echoed through the flames and the fear, Alex lunged forward, arms reaching. But as he grasped Tommy's outstretched hand, a blinding white light erupted. "Hold on!" he yelled, powerless against the force, feeling himself pulled into the depths of the darkness. As the light fractured, exploding outward, Alex was torn between worlds, between fire and shadow, love and loss, sanity and madness. What awaited him on the other side of the blaze? Was he saving Tommy or sealing their fates forever? The fire raged louder, drowning out any remaining clamor of hope. The answer hung in the air, unspoken, just like the weight beneath the chaos. The darkness stirred anew, revealing secrets that longed to be uncovered. What truths awaited them as they fell further into the abyss? The light shattered into 1,000 fragments, each one cutting through the darkness like a blade. Alex gasped, feeling the icy tendrils of shadows retreating, but they clawed at him still, desperate and relentless. The world around him pulsated, alive with an energy he struggled to grasp. He could still hear Tommy's voice, now faint, echoing against the backdrop of swirling realities. "Dad, help me!" Tommy. Panic surged through him, mingling with desperation. He squeezed his eyes shut, forcing himself to reach for that connection, his son's warmth, his small hand. When he opened them again, he was alone. The shimmering light had swallowed the boy whole, leaving Alex trapped in a realm darker than he had ever imagined. The chilling silence swallowed him, the inferno behind him crackling like a dying beast. Shades of his past slithered through his mind. Days filled with laughter, evenings spent watching sunsets, the warmth of a family he had nearly obliterated with his own hands. The ground shook, and in a flash the grotesque figures returned. Their hollow eyes locked onto him, mouths twisted in eternal screams. "You let him die, Alex. You can't save him." Their chorus weaved between the whispers of the smoke, wrapping around his thoughts. "No, I will find him." The words fueled him, stripping away the terror in his heart for a moment, igniting purpose from the ashes. He staggered forward, fighting against the pull of despair, inching through the shadows, trapping him in despair. But around him, familiar whispers began to interlace with the shadows. The voices of family, friends, and others lost to the flames. "You didn't listen," they murmured. "You ignored the signs." Their words crawled into his mind, a chilling reminder of his failures. Suddenly, the air grew heavy, suffocating him like a weight. He could see the outlines of Tommy ahead, a silhouette struggling against the dark. "Dad!" Tommy's voice, desperate and small, cut through the haze. "Tommy!" With renewed vigor, Alex propelled himself forward, his hands reaching ahead. Each step felt like a battle against quicksand, the shadows trying to drag him down. As he closed the distance, the darkness transformed, revealing a gallery of horrors. Images of everything he had lost, moments containing both joy and agony. He saw Mia's eyes, beautiful and full of life, then saw her lifeless form, ripped away too soon. "Tommy, I'm coming!" His son's outline flickered, now surrounded by a blinding light, pulsing like the heartbeat of a dying star. "Dad!" Tommy's voice strained against the wall of shadows, pulling Alex in too. Determination welled within him, rising like a tide. With one final lunge, he plunged into the brightness. The darkness lashed out, but fear became strength as he fought with everything inside him. The light enveloped him, bending reality around him, and for a moment he felt them together, a family reunited, if only in fleeting memories. Then chaos erupted again. The light dimmed, and Tommy vanished into the depths of swirling smoke once more.
The laughter faded, replaced by desperate cries echoing through the dark. The shapes of the lost surrounded him now, wailing and pulling at his sanity. "Where are you?" he screamed, drowning in despair, fighting front every shadow clawing for his soul. "Where is my son?" As he stood amidst the chaos, realization struck. A new presence emerged, a figure cloaked in darkness, eyeing him with malevolence. Its features twisted with familiar sorrow. "You can't bring him back," it cackled, its voice a haunting remnant of Mia's. Alex staggered back, heart racing, terror coursing through him like fire. "What do you want from me?" "This is your doing. You led us here, Alex. Now you must choose." Choose? The weight of that word hung in the air, and as shadows closed in on him again, Alex felt the suffocating grip of fate tighten. Would he sacrifice everything to save Tommy, or let the shadows reclaim what they had lost? The figure stepped closer, and as fear settled like snow, Alex realized he stood on the edge of an unspeakable decision, one that could free him or bury him forever. What chilling choice awaited him in the encroaching darkness? Alex's heart hammered against his rib cage, every beat echoing the terror swirling around him. The figure loomed, its face a mask of twisted nostalgia. How had it transformed from a nightmare to a grotesque semblance of his lost love? Shadows danced around it, whispering secrets and lies that made his skin crawl. "What do you mean?" he shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. "What choice?" With a motion that was almost languid,
Figure raised its hand, an invitation or a threat, he couldn't tell. "You can save him," it hissed, the words slithering into his consciousness, "but it will cost you dearly." A bead of sweat dripped down Alex's temple, mixing with his fear. Save Tommy? The thought consumed him, an ember igniting in his chest. But what did cost truly mean in this wretched place? His mind flashed to the shadows, how they coiled around him, drawing energy and warmth. I was already paying. "What must I do?" he asked, the words tasting of ash. The figure smirked, a mirthless grin that sent chills racing along Alex's spine. "You must surrender the memories, the joy you shared. Forget what made you human." "Forget?" The laughter erupted from the figure, ringing harshly in the silence. "Yes, sacrifice your strongest memories, and he can return." Images of Tommy flooded his mind. The first day the boy learned to ride a bike, the impromptu kitchen dance parties, the way his laughter filled their home like music. Each moment was a thread that wove the very fabric of his soul. He couldn't just sever them. "But I can't." "Then you will never see him again," the figure said, voice cold and cutting. "Your joy is a chain that binds you here. Embrace the darkness. Let it purify your heart." Gripped by dread, Alex fell to his knees, the figure's words wrapping around him like ivy, squeezing tighter. The screams of the lost echoed in unison, harmonizing with the wails of his son. Tommy's voice rose above them, melodic and desperate. "Dad, please!" "Tommy!" The word erupted from his lips, raw and painful. Could he really bear the thought of a life devoid of his son's laughter? The weight of the choice knotted in his gut like iron. Gradually, the shadows tightened their grip, crawling closer, eager to consume. What had felt like dark tendrils of the unknown suddenly morphed into something more, a feeling of betrayal and anger toward himself. He had always been the one to protect Tommy. How could he let fear dictate his choice now? "I refuse!" Alex roared, suddenly filled with a frantic determination. "I won't forget. I'd rather drown in this abyss than lose my son to darkness." The figure turned, surprise flickering across its twisted features. The laughter halted, replaced by a deep, rumbling growl that echoed around them. "Very well," it spat, the shadows recoiling. "Then you shall face the consequences of your decision." With those chilling words, the ground beneath him began to quake. The darkness rumbled and twisted around him like a storm, furious and wild. Alex felt his grip on reality slip as the shadows surged, clawing and gnashing, hunting for every weak part of his resolve. "Dad, help me!" Tommy's voice pierced through the chaos, more desperate than before, calling for him. A blinding light exploded from within the shadows, swallowing everything whole, even the echoes of his son's cries. He found himself spinning, unraveling, and at
that moment he knew he hadn't just chosen to save his son. He had unleashed something far more sinister. As the darkness closed in, Alex's mind was flooded with thoughts of loss and anguish. What would he face in this new nightmare? Was the bond with his son strong enough to withstand the horrors that lurked beyond? The echoes began to laugh again, mocking him. The deeper darkness thrashed as if celebrating the challenge. What awaited in the void? The shadows hissed back, their whispers chilling his blood. "You've made your choice, Alex, and we're just getting started." The engulfing blackness clawed at Alex's sanity, a relentless tide pulling him under. He felt a sharp pain pierce through his gut, as if the very fabric of his memories was being torn away. He gasped, struggling against the darkness, his breath coming in frantic bursts. "Tommy!" He screamed again, but his voice felt thin, lost in the howling void. The shadows shifted, forming a vortex around him, a swirling maelstrom of anguish and despair. Time lost meaning. Was he falling or rising? He couldn't tell. Then, amid the chaos, he caught a glimpse, a flicker of light. The dim glow surged through the dark like a beacon, but it came with a familiar weight, the echo of laughter so sweet, yet tainted. Was that Tommy's laughter? It floated through the blackness, dancing just out of reach. "Dad, I'm here." The voice was clearer, yet somehow distant, as if calling from the other side of reality. The echoes of the past echoed back, blending with the malevolent whispers. "Hold on, I'm coming." Alex clawed through the darkness, fueled by desperation. He fought against the icy grip that sought to bind him, to erase him. Every step he took felt like trying to wade through molasses, the weight of the shadows determined to pull him back into utter despair. Suddenly, he stumbled into a clearing, an unexpected oasis in the pitch black. There he saw it, a spectral vision of Tommy, shimmering like a mirage. The boy was suspended in mid-air, caught in the throes of laughter, but his face twisted in anguish. The shadows flickered around him, angry and hungry, clawing at him as if they wanted to drag him back. "Dad, help!" Tommy's eyes widened, pleading. Fear coursed through Alex. "Take my hand, Tommy, I'm here." He reached out, heart racing, drenched in sweat. But the moment their fingers brushed, a surge of energy sparked, and the figure materialized again from the abyss, a grotesque imitation of love. It held the strings of Tommy's laughter, twisting them in its hands like a puppeteer. "You don't understand, Alex. Joy is an illusion. What binds you will consume you." "No, I won't let you take him." Anguish poured out of Alex like molten lava. The figure's laughter sliced through the air, a cacophony of malice. Do you believe you can save him by holding on to those memories? They weaken you. Alex felt the shadows swirl around
him, pushing, pulling, enticing him to yield. He shut his eyes tight, grasping at the shimmering image of his son. "I choose love!" The words exploded from his lips, fueled by an almost primal rage. In that moment, the dark tendrils recoiled, trembling as if directly struck. It was a power he had never realized he possessed, rooted deep in the bonds they shared. "You dare defy me?" the figure hissed, contorted with rage. "You think love alone can shield you from the abyss?" "I don't care. I'll fight," Alex spat, the very essence of his love for Tommy wrapping around his spirit like armor. Alex lunged forward, summoning every ounce of strength, every flicker of hope. As he broke through the suffocating haze, he grasped Tommy's hand firmly. The boy's warmth ignited a fire within him. "All together now!" Alex shouted, lifting their connected hands against the figure. "We are not lost!" The shadows screamed, unraveling in a fury as the flickering light intensified. Alex's heart raced, a car engine pushed to its limit. He felt the warmth of genuine love surging through him, overwhelming the cold. "Tommy, hold on tight!" But as they surged forward, a haunting scream echoed through the void, shaking the foundations of reality. It split the air, and in that instant Alex realized, perhaps they were not just fighting for Tommy, but against something much darker, something that thrived on fear and grief. "Your actions will have consequences," the figure roared as the light engulfed them. The world around them began to fracture, a kaleidoscope of shattered memories. Would this victory come at a price? Just before the darkness closed in again, Alex heard it, a whisper of the truth that curled around his heart with cold tendrils. "You think this is the end? You've merely awakened the nightmare." As the shadows transformed and the chaos erupted, Alex braced himself, hoping against hope that the bond with Tommy would be strong enough to break the horror lurking behind. What awaited them next? The shadows laughed again, sinister and insatiable. "You have yet to learn. There's always more to sacrifice." Caught in a whirlpool of despair and chaos, Alex felt the intensity of the flames licking at his skin, pulsing with life at the edge of his consciousness. But in the surge of his heartbeat, a flicker of something beyond fear ignited within him. A fierce and desperate resolve. "Tommy!" he called out again, as the darkness clawed at their resolve. The shadows swirled like a storm, howling in rage. If they wanted to take his son, they would have to fight for him. One final stand. As the figure flinched, the air around them crackled with tension. "Your memories are an anchor, Alex. Let them go," it hissed, twisted fingers clawing through the void, ready to capture the essence of their bond. "No!" Alex shouted, feeling the strength coursing through his veins. The heat of pain and terror melded with glimmers of hope, forming an unwavering bond. "I won't forget. You may take my sanity, but you can't steal my love." His proclamation sent ripples through the shadows. The figure masked a flicker of doubt, revealing just how fragile their hold was. That unyielding love propelled him forward, a shield against the encroaching dark. "Tommy, hold on!" With every ounce of strength, he reached towards the shimmering form of his son, whose small frame grew brighter amid the swirling chaos. "Dad, I'm scared." The fear in Tommy's voice coiled around Alex's heart like barbed wire. "I'm here. Look for me." He fought against the shadows, digging deep within the core of himself, remembering every laugh, every embrace, the moments that defined their bond. Love is power, thought Alex fiercely, believing it with his whole heart. And he surged forward, unrelenting, igniting the remnants of their memories like a spark against the encroaching abyss. Then, in a moment that seemed to stretch through time, the air shimmered. "Face the truth," the figure roared, rage transforming into desperation. With a primal cry, Alex stretched forward, grasping Tommy's hand tightly. The shadows clawed and shrieked as if attempting to unleash themselves from an unseen force. "Together, Tommy, don't let go!" The bright flicker of hope they shared shone like a storm beacon split through a thundercloud. The darkness hissed in response, wavering momentarily, losing its grip on the essence of their souls. Stepping over the threshold of shadows, their bond strengthened. "This ends now," the darkness bellowed, retreating as if a fierce wind had swept over it. "From this day forth, we claim our freedom," Alex declared, raising their clasped hands high. The shadows erupted into a cloud of ashes, dissolving before the brightening glow that surrounded them. Light spilled in, unraveling the veils of despair. And then, like a curtain being pulled back, Alex felt it, the warmth of real life. The chaotic noise faded, replaced by the soft sound of rustling leaves and gentle wind. As the darkness receded, reality settled in. They found themselves standing in a field bathed in golden light, the air crisp and clear. Their hearts still racing, but filled with a sense of victory, or perhaps relief. "Dad!" Tommy cried, leaping forward, unscathed. "You found me!" Alex caught him, wrapping his arms around Tommy with all the strength he had left. "I'll always find you," he whispered, tears of joy and relief streaming down his cheeks as the warmth of their embrace crowded out the shadows of their past. But as they stood together, the shadows whispered faintly, remnants of a battle not yet won. Yet Alex felt a flicker of assurance igniting within him, no matter what awaited them. He would protect his son. This was not the ending. It was a new beginning. In that moment, surrounded by light, the spirits of the firefighters lost in the flame lingered in the echoes of their triumph. The shadows would remember this night, the night love conquered the darkness. As the sun began to set over Maplewood, Alex held Tommy tighter, ready for whatever lay ahead. They remained a family, united through determination, forged in flame, and transformed by love. Now it's time for you to join the journey. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. There's so much more to uncover. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking conclusion. And finally, don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic finale. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Get involved.